Hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and today I will be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. As you see here, we have my most powerful team that I don't think I created this. I really just took the Jellicent and Vigoroth core. I just put the strongest core in Great League Remix together and put a Beedrill in the back. Just because Beedrill does really well against a lot of back row things. It can still take out Bastion, it can still take out Registeel with Drill Run. And it does really well against Psychic types. It resists the Charmers, it also resists the Fighters. So, great anti-meta pick is Beedrill. So, well, again, this isn't anything super fancy, just Beedrill in the back instead of Alolan Ninetales, which happens to be the most powerful line in Great League Remix via ppoke.com. I just put a little spin into it. Again, this team got me plus 200 points. Also, it's gotten me you do have to play a little fancy around it, but you will see in this Sweet 5-0, 6-0, 6-0, 19 and 5, and it's done really well for me. As you see here, this team overall doesn't have a lot of coverage and bulk, but you will see why I kind of circumvent that a bit. Sure thing it's not that bulky because Vigoroth and Beedrill isn't that bulky. It's actually not, it's glassy in the sense that if you take regular damage, yes. However, if you take resistant damage, it can take on a couple of things. It is pretty safe and consistent. Again, this thing really takes advantage of the back pattern. That's why I have Beedrill in the back. And Beedrill's ability to just basically destroy the Charmers with poison typing. And X-Scissor is a great weapon against Psychic types, is really good. As you see here, this team does really well against the overall meta. As you see here, I have Vigoroth is kind of your safe switch, being able to beat a lot of things. I beat a lot of lead and a lot of closing patterns with this team. Even if you do lose against Altaria, you can beat Altaria. I've beaten it before by either body slamming it to death, shadow balling it to death, or just X-Scissoring it to death. Yes, I've actually X-Scissored an Altaria to death with this team. As you see here, this team is very powerful against a lot of meta, and there isn't a lot of things that actually core break it super well. So it's a very, very powerful team. As you see here, your core breaker, as I mentioned, is Altaria. However, you know how you beat Altaria? You beat the unholy hell out of this chicken. You beat it to death, and you destroy it. I know I don't have Ice Beam on Jellicent, but the reason I don't have Ice Beam is because if you are able to bait with Bubble Beam, you could do a lot of fancy things. And with Bubble Beam, you can actually set up a lot of plays with Vigoroth and Beedrill, because by debuffing the back row, and when you set, for example, if I lose Jellicent, but my opponent is debuffed, there's a lot of pressure on them, because either one, I can farm them down, or two, whatever I send in is very strong against their Pokemon. So again, it really scares them. It really gives you a chance for Vigoroth. Even if Vigoroth and Beedrill are beat, the Bubble Beam, the debuff is just so strong. Especially now that the 30-second switch timer is gone and the regular switch timer is back. But as you see here, not a lot of things core break this team. So it's very, very powerful, really, really good against the overall meta. And I really hope you guys enjoy this shoutcast. Some things like Scrafty, Dark types, and Mandibuzz can give you a problem, but again, you can still beat them. Just chip away at them as much as you can and do as much damage as you possibly can. If you have great energy management, and if you have a lot of confidence, because again, if Jellicent is able to debuff the back row, even if you're weak against them with Vigoroth and Beedrill, you can pull off a W still. Done it plenty of times. And without further ado, here's the shoutcast. This sweet 5-0. I technically 6-0 in this team, but I'm going to show you the 5-0 just because it was really sweet, and I actually pulled off some really sweet plays here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the shoutcast. Alright, it's time for the shoutcast, the moment you've all been waiting for. Again, these battles aren't going to be sped up, just so that I can do more analysis. It is Jellicent lead, Vigoroth safe switch, and Beedrill in the back. So we get Jellicent into a Shadow Cantonian Ninetales. This is really interesting. Obviously, I win this lead, however, I'm really interested because it's also a Fire Spin one, so I'm like, okay, so it's not Ember, so Fire Spin Ninetales doesn't exactly get to Solar Beam pretty quickly. I think it literally takes like eight full Fire Spins to get to a Solar Beam. So I'm going to count, and as you see here, I do manage to get a shield, which is great. It is very threatening. I'm pretty sure Shadow Ball almost put you in the kill range, so my opponent does shield. They use Overheat, which is pretty nuts because despite the fact that I do resist it and it's the -1, like that did a whole lot of damage. I send in Vigoroth, they send in their Bastiodon. So as you see here, they were just trying to chip and dip me, but this is why I love Vigoroth. Vigoroth is able to do heavy damage with counters, especially if it's a Bastiodon. I will shield, however, here just because it is not debuffed. Could have debuffed and then switched out. However, I don't want my Jellicent to take too much damage. I will fire a Body Slam here. You're wondering why I'm not firing the Bulldoze. It's just because I want extra farm. It's because this, even though this is double resisted, I'm going to go over 100 energy if I go at the rate I'm at. So as you see here, now I have 2 Body Slams and some change. So good little way to make sure you don't go over 100. And then I have a Jellicent in the back. So I actually made a mistake here. I should have fired the Bulldoze because guess what's going to happen? They're very likely not going to shield, as you see here. So we're kind of in trouble. So here's the problem. Yes, my Jellicent is still healthy. I still have Jellicent, but Beedrill doesn't have a great matchup against this Jellicent here, just because the thing about it is that Beedrill, the only thing that isn't resisted is Drill Run. So I have to make a decision here. I don't shield here. I want to see if it's Ice Beam or Bubble Beam. If you see a Jellicent on their team, figure out whether they have Bubble Beam or if they have Ice Beam. Just because as you see here, they likely have Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is likely their secondary move. You want Shadow Ball with your Jellicent. As you see here, they do fire Bubble Beam, so now I know this is not an Ice Beam Jellicent. I fire Bulldoze, they shield for some odd reason, even though I'm debuffed. They shouldn't have done that, but now that I think my opponent's starting to realize that it's gonna take a lot to kill my Vigoroth. As you see, the Bubble Beam goes off. It KOs my Vigoroth, but I still have some play here, and I have a shield, which is great. It would have sucked if they still had their shield, but they don't want to take a lot of damage, so I kind of understand what they're coming from. I'm sending Beedrill. I don't shield the first one, even if this is Shadow Ball, I'll live it, but like, as you see here, it does a lot of damage. I want to save that shield just in case, because I'm going to get to my Drill Run. I hesitate to fire a little bit, I wait for the animation, because you don't want them to catch your Drill, I didn't want them to catch my Drill Run. Because I still got a whole Pokemon to take care of. That Drill Run will KO, and then I have that Ninetales against my Jellicent. As you see here, I swap in right away, fire off the Shadow Ball. So at this point, it's GG's. I just wanted to make sure I didn't want that Ninetales on my Beedrill, because Fire Spin, especially Shadow damage, is definitely going to KO me. But as you see here, we should be able to get to another Bubble Beam, and then I should be able to KO the Ninetales. So Jellicent is a little scary in the back because it kind of does core break your team in a sense, just because it does resist both. It resists Vigoroth, except for Bulldoze, and it resists all of Beedrill's moves unless it's Drill Run. So ironically, the ground type moves, which cost a lot of energy, are the only ways out of Jellicent. But as you see here, just because we won the lead and we were able to force our opponent in a bad situation, we get the W. So this team is really, really good. I won't win the lead in all of these matches, you'll see here, but you'll see a lot of combinations like that core breaker in the back already sucks enough. So again, remember how I said in the beginning, just chip away as much as you can. So I have Vigoroth into a Jellicent. So believe it or not, I actually have never had this matchup before. But I was slow to figure out that you actually don't win this matchup in the zeros. As you see here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chip away at this Vigoroth a lot. So I'm just going to Bubble Beam it down. I'm not going to go for the big Shadow Ball. I will get stabbed on these Bubble Beams. My issue is that Bulldoze still does a decent chunk of damage. As you see here, this is definitely a Bulldoze. That's why I don't shield. It's debuff, so I got the debuff. But as you see here, I don't like how much damage it does. Yes, we're double resisting these counters. However, that Bulldoze did a big chunk of damage like you saw there. So I'm going to keep Bubble Beaming. I actually didn't know what would happen. But this is when I start sensing that I'm going to probably lose this matchup. Because, yeah, just because Hex is double resisted, it kind of sucks for us right now. So as you see here, we're just going to Bubble Beam straight. I will get them to the yellow first. However, the next Bulldoze will put me in the yellow. So I'm kind of in a lot of trouble right now. So the best thing I can do, I have two scenarios here. I can either just farm down the Vigoroth and let my Jellicent go, which is probably a likely scenario that I'm going to do. Or I can switch out. At this point, I'm just going to stay in. There's really no point, and with Vigoroth being down so low, I'm already really low to the point to where if I have a really bad matchup in the back, poor Jellicent can probably get farmed down. But as you hear, if you're wondering, Vigoroth versus Jellicent, if none of you shield, it's a bad day for you. Just because, as you see here, this Vigoroth is going to win the zeros, just because I think you should shield the first one, but then I would be down shield disadvantage. I would be at a shield disadvantage. So as you see here, I'm just firing off these Bubble Beams, and hopefully we're going to be able to take out this Vigoroth, they switch into a Sableye, which really sucks because I have no chance to react. Just because, remember what I was talking about? I could probably get farmed down. There we go. Kinda sucks, doesn't it? And they have an energy lead, so this is even more terrible. I send in Vigoroth, as you see over here, because I'm going to try to do what I can against this Sableye. What sucks against Sableye is that you don't resist foul play, so this kinda sucks. I will let one foul play through, however, even though I didn't debuff it or anything like that, because I'm gonna try to save my shields for Beedrill and see what I can make happen. Hopefully, Beedrill has a strong matchup against whatever's in the back, because at this point, that's really what I'm hoping for. I already lost Switch, and as you see here, they even shield my Bulldoze, so I'm already in a rough spot. I'm already in a really rough patch, so I'm just like, my only choice is to pretty much hopefully beat the back, but that's as you see there, so even if you do get Vigoroth in the lead, as you see here, in the note, you lose the no shield if they go straight Bulldoze. So, I actually figured that out today. You're probably wondering, how does King of Charmanders pull off this W? You're about to see. Shortly. Well, not really shortly, because I fired off a bunch of bubble beams, but as you see here, I will double shield both foul plays, and I'm going to try to bait here. I'm going to try to bait. I need to try to get a Bulldoze off, or I need to get it down to X's range, because this is already really sweaty. They don't fall for, and they don't fall for the bait. So I'm double body slamming here. I got a little bit of energy left, but they have shield advantage. So this really sucks. So I have to pull off something really fancy here. As you see, I managed to get the full farm down, and I have 1 or 2 counters away from another body slam. I get a Wigglytuff, and I am so happy right now because they don't know I have Beedrill, which is great. I will get this body slam off before I switch out, and the reason I'm doing this is because I'm hoping they don't shield, and they don't. And this is great. They wanted to save their shield with Wigglytuff. However, at this range, I can pretty much farm it down. I will fire off the X-Scissor, however. I want to either chip away at it, or I should be able to farm down this Wigglytuff. Which is really great. If they didn't take that body slam damage, I would have been fine. At the last resort, try not to reveal Beedrill until you see the back row like this, or throw Beedrill into a really positive matchup. Now, we get the Vigoroth in the back, and that's GG's. As you see here, again, because we had a really strong matchup in the back, despite the fact we lost the lead, technically. And with proper energy management, and just having a lot of really big coconuts, we were able to take the W. Here's match number 3. Again, you can come from behind if you have good energy management, like I mentioned in the intro. We get Jellicent into an A9. Now, I don't know if it's Charm, or if it's Powder Snow. If it's Powder Snow, it's great. If it's Charm, it's gonna kind of suck. As you see here, it is Powder Snow, so I'm like, alright, cool, this is great! I fire off the Bubble Beam, hoping to grab a bait. That's what I'll normally do. You could choose either way. You could Shadow Ball or bait first. Normally, as you see here, I will try to bait, and it doesn't go through, which kind of sucks. So now, I have to go for the Shadow Ball. So, if they let both of them through, then maybe I can just fire, maybe I can come out the W. As you see, they do Dazzling Gleam me. Unfortunately, this thing does get stabbed, but E9 does get stabbed, same type attack bonus. That's why, even though it's down 1, it hurts a lot. I will fire the Shadow Ball, and I'm hoping my opponent doesn't shield here. I fire the Shadow Ball, and it goes through! I was like, alright, that's cool. So the reason I like baiting first, because whether it goes through or not, you kind of 2000 IQ opponent, as you see here. This should be a Weather Ball. There's no way they have a Dazzling Gleam. As you see here, there's a Weather Ball. I should be able to farm down. Unless they decide to switch out or something like that. Get the full farm down, bang. I like doing Bubble Beam first before Shadow Ball just to do that, like you see there. Hopefully they think it's another bait, and then I just let the nuke through. Sometimes it doesn't happen all the time, but if it does like this, it gives you a good advantage because you could literally just farm down. So as you see here, I get this Bubble Beam off. I can hopefully get to another one, and they decide to throw their energy, which is actually really smart by them. However, I don't think this kills. A double resisted Body Slam. As you see here. And it does it. I under-tap perfectly because if that counter goes through, then I think Jelly dies. What under-tapping is you wait a split second, then you fire a charge move. So that's what, it's like really advanced, and it takes a little bit of practice, but you just really have to hold your fire. Like, hold your fire. Just for a little bit. Hold it. Now this Vigoroth is down -2. And I throw my Vigoroth into their Vigoroth. Yes, this is kind of, well, actually this is really good for us because their Vigoroth is -2. This Body Slam should not do a lot of damage. As you see here, a -2 Body Slam doesn't do anything against you. Remember when I was talking about that Altaria? Guess what? There it is. So, now I'm in a lot of trouble, because I'm like, oh no. So, remember, like, Altaria is our biggest core breaker. I have Energy Lead on Vigoroth. And I still have a whole Beedrill, and I have 2 shields. So their Vigoroth's almost dead. And there's still a lot of play here. It ain't over yet. It's not over till the fat Vigoroth throws 1,000 body slams. We managed to grab a shield with the second one, which actually kind of sucks, because I'm like, oh boy. This is kind of, like, I was hoping to let the second one through so I could send in Beedrill and try to farm down. As you see here, what I'm going to try to do is essentially lock my opponent, like, try to do as much farm damage as I can. And what I'm trying to do is actually be able to farm it down and X-Scissor the Vigoroth in the back, because the Vigoroth is really close to dying. My win condition here is to get a move off on the Vigoroth in the back, and hopefully I can fry this chicken. Chicken is going to get our Altaria, for the more technical term, is going to get 2 Sky Attacks off. Now I'm going to fire this, I'm going to fire the X-Scissor, and I'm going to try and farm down. I need to throw a move at the Vigoroth in the back in order to get the W. So this X-Scissor should go through, and I should be able to farm it down. Now, my Switch Cop won't be up yet, so as you see, they try to switch out, which was actually a really bad idea by them. Because now they pretty much, remember, I was telling you my win condition is to get a move on the Vigoroth in the back, and I managed to get a move. So I switch into my own Vigoroth really quickly just to get a move off, so that they aren't able to get any energy, or if they're out of body slam, hopefully I can disrupt it. And that's GG's. So as you see, with quick thinking, and by winning by the virtue of knowing how to win ahead of time, you're able to pull off a lot of W's against Altaria. This is a good example of how to beat Altaria in the back. If Altaria core breaks your back, beat the unholy hell out of it. That's how you win. Just literally body slam it to death. Beat the unholy hell out of said Altaria in order to win. So that's the way you can beat Altaria. And if you get Jellicent in the back, again, beat the unholy hell out of it in order to win. Body slam it, X-Scissor it, or well, for Jellicent, you have to drill run or bulldoze it to death. And for everything else, just do as much damage as you can. That's what I love about this team. It's really spammy, but like, Jellicent isn't super spammy, but it works. For number 3, we get a Registeel into Jellicent. Okay, so this isn't actually a great matchup. Yes, we do double resist our friend Registeel here. However, there is an issue because Registeel actually does a decent amount of damage with Flash Cannon. As you see here, Flash Cannon does about 1/4 your health, and it's actually pretty thick in its own right, so you need to throw a couple of Shadow Balls before it goes down. I will fire this Bubble Beam, but the reason I fire Bubble Beam before Shadow Ball first is because I want to, one, prompt them to either switch, or I can lock them into a point where, like, okay, I can Shadow Ball. Because if you do get a shield with that Bubble Beam, you put you so far ahead, especially with the debuff. I do fire a Shadow Ball, it does go through. My opponent switches out into a Clefable, and as soon as I see the Fairy typing, oh, you already know what's going on. And as you see here, all I'm going to do is just use my Beedrill. Poison Jab is doing super effective damage against this poor Fairy, and we're going to straight Drill Run. My opponent probably thinks I'm baiting, so I'm going to fire the Drill Run and hopefully it goes through. And as you see here, yes! That's what you want to do. Always go for the big move. Well, don't always go for the big move, but as you see here, I went for the big move there, and it worked. Because, as I predicted, my opponent was like, oh, he's gonna bait. What you do by Bubble Beaming first, before you actually nuke, your opponent kind of thinks that I have... Okay, so this is kind of like my 2000 IQ strat. I kind of try to fool them into thinking that I'm a master baiter, so like I will bait you consistently until your shields are down. No, that's not the truth. So it kind of tricks your opponent and kind of like sets the trap in a sense. Sets that trap. So I like setting traps. Unfortunately, that trap didn't work. So now I'm gonna go for an X-Scissor and try to get the second trap. If my opponent is counting correctly, then this is actually the wrong move. But it's actually not that bad, because if this goes through, that's fine. Because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to let Beedrill go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to farm. I'm going to get a little bit of farm on Vigoroth. So this is actually a little bit of... I could have Drill Run, yeah, taken it out. But as you see here, I actually send in my Ninetales to try and take out this. And I'll switch, and it's a Charmtail. So I'm like, oh crap. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to Bubble Beam down. I want to lower its attack, and then I'm going to switch in Vigoroth. The reason I want to do this is so the charms don't do as much damage. I'm going to have to shield this Weather Ball, however, I should be able to double up and get to 2 body slams. See what I mean by Bubble Beam can do a lot of work for you, as in like trying to finesse the attack stat and letting your Pokemon take more damage. As you see here, I can get to 2 body slams, double body slam counter down, and that's GG's. The use of Bubble Beam is very good. And if your opponent doesn't know you, which if I'm facing someone that I do know, I have to be really fancy because they know kind of like how I pattern everything out. Or they just know I'm crazy. Probably the second one. As you see here, the body slam does go down, and 89 will go down, and then all I have to do is punch the poor trash cannon back, and that's GG's. Again, Bubble Beam, yes, Ice Beam can take out Meganium, and it can take out Altaria. However, I like it for this instant because I have a game plan. And like I said, Bubble Beam bait is amazing. I love Bubble Beam bait. Now here's our 5th and final battle. Again, I'm giving you a lot of resources or a lot of live footage on how to beat the unholy hell out of Altaria, because Altaria is your worst nightmare. So, as you see here, the last battle is a very sweaty battle because I have a former rank 10/legend against me with the... His pose is honestly better than my pose. But anyways, we get a Bastiodon into Jellicent. So, fun fact, you technically lose this lead. In order for you to beat Bastiodon, you have to get a Shadow Ball, and you have to get a Shadow Ball through, then Bubble Beam it to death. However, as you see here, for some odd reason, I lose a turn, and I don't know why. That turn actually mattered a lot because it's going to affect the outcome of this matchup. So now I definitely lose this lead. What sucks is if you lose a turn, as you see there, they're ahead, so I get my energy back, but now we're off interval. So now I have to time my moves correctly, but that extra smackdown does matter. As you see here, Stone Edge will go off. I could have shielded it, which I probably should have done. But as you see here, I'm just going to go straight for the Shadow Ball. What you can do here is let Jelly go and farm down with Vigoroth and or Beedrill, depending on how hurt it is. Make sure you don't be too fancy. As you see here, Shadow Ball will go off, and I'm going to try to hit a Bubble Beam. If they get their move, I'm going to try... yeah, as you see here, I'm just like, I can't get to a Shadow Ball. They're going to get to... The next Smackdown is going to give a move. I will fire the Bubble Beam. This Bastiodon is super hurt right now. So what this prompts your opponent to do, it kind of tricks them into giving a switch, or they let you farm down the Bastiodon. So as you see here, Bastiodon going to hit me with the Stone Edge, and then I'm just going to let my poor Jellyman go. Sorry, dude. Jellyman goes down, and remember what I told you strategy before? I switch it, and they give up switch! I love it, because we get Beedrill into this Deoxys defense. We're in even shield scenarios, I wouldn't CMP, so this is a really good time. Again, another 2000 IQ strat you can do with that team. If you bubble down, well, against Bastiodon in the lead, as you see here, you can trick your opponent into trying to preserve Bastiodon, which is actually hilarious. How far will you go for an overpowered Tap-Tapmon tank like Bastiodon? The world may never know, but I actually, like, my trick worked on my opponent here. I win CMP, and I'm trying to fix the interval, so I do. Actually, I don't know if I do, but, like, I'm trying to fix the interval, that's why I fire it late. Excessors should go through, though. And they choose to shield. So, this tells my opponent really doesn't like Beedrill in the back. So, I'm like, okay, this is great. I'm going to shield, and then I should be able to get to another X-Scissor, take out that final shield, and then it's going to get really interesting from there. I don't know if I can actually farm down at this rate. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to try to catch a Rock Slide on Vigoroth. That's my game plan right now. Because I don't want Beedrill to go down entirely, so I'm going to have to try to catch a Rock Slide. As here, 1, 2, I catch it perfectly. I catch the Rock Slide. My opponent's now going to be prompted to switch out, and it's going to get really sweaty. As you see, I catch the Rock Slide perfectly. Another very advanced play, and it is a Meganium. This is great because I have an energy lead, so I should be able to get to 2 Body Slams, and then all I have to do is be very careful, and then I should be able to take out the back row. However, because of energy lead and the fact that I win CMP as well, I should be able to get to a second Body Slam. And I do not, unfortunately. So I kind of miscalculate, so I'm like, oh, I needed one more. So, kind of sucks. However, we kind of wanted this because Frenzy Plant will go through. However, as you see here, I'm going to get a little more energy. I'm probably going to go, I'm like counting, so it takes 6 Vine Whips to get to a Frenzy Plant. So I'm going to go a little over just in case I miscount. You still KO this Meganium, and then I have to take out a DD and a Bastiodon. So Bastiodon's almost dead. But as you see here, I'm there. My opponent's thinking, like, what do I do? So all I have to do is basically make sure I land a move on that DD. So as you see here, I'm waiting for them to get their interval off. So I fire in between the Smackdown because they still have a sack. So I fire it perfectly, and I should be able to just Poison Jab down that Deoxys defense, and that's GG's. As you see here, really great battles, really sweaty battles. I hope this helps you out on how to play this team and give you a few insights on how to run it. But as you see here, worked really well, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. And here's this sweet 5-0 I was talking about. Super excited, super happy. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed those battles. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed these battles. Again, it's not like anything super fancy. It just takes an anti-meta pick and replaces it with Charm A-Tails, the most powerful team. And it works surprisingly well. I've actually gotten like plus 200 points behind it, and I went 6-0 with it too. So really great team. Again, if you see your core breaker, beat the unholy hell out of it. That's literally what I do for like everything. Just, hey, does that thing look like it could be killed? Well, guess what? I'm just gonna do a whole bunch of crap, and I'm gonna beat the unholy hell out of you till you die. That's basically how I do things. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you have any questions, just put in the comments. Please like and subscribe. Hopefully you guys are doing well in your Go Valley sets. Hopefully this helps you do well in your Go Valley sets. And I will see you guys on the next video.
Ciao!